A Minneapolis restaurant stopped charging for food 5 months ago as a protest, converted to a nonprofit, and now they're making more money than they ever did when they charged full price. Neuroscientists just confirmed why the years feel like they're disappearing faster and what you can actually do about it. And a Pepperdine professor told Fortune magazine that students are arriving at college unable to read a single sentence. And that word sentence isn't a metaphor. Every day, the news cycle produces roughly 1,000 stories. About 6 of them are about politics, and that's all anyone focuses on. I went looking for the rest. This is News Side Quest. In January 2026, Dylan Alverson, the owner of Modern Times Cafe, a 15-year fixture of South Minneapolis, switched his restaurant to a free and donation-based model. By February, comparing the month's donations to the prior year's sales, Postmodern Times made more operating on donations than it had charging full price. The board is now being assembled, the nonprofit paperwork is in process, and Alverson says the goal is to make the model sustainable long-term and extend the impact beyond the walls of his restaurant. His explanation for why it worked is the part that stopped me. Quote, "The only way I had enough money to start this business was that someone randomly gave me their money. It makes sense that this is the natural arc of the story," end quote. The fan mail filled a bulletin board in less than a week. People drove from outside the city to eat there and donate. The community showed up in ways that the normal transaction model never would have produced. This is heartwarming and not a bad business model at any time, but especially when the economy is less than stellar. What Postmodern Times found is that when you remove the price barrier and ask people to give what they can, a significant portion of people give more than the price would have been. That's not a surprise if you think about it. People want to be generous. They want to feel like they're a part of something. The standard restaurant transaction doesn't give them the opportunity. The donation model does. Have you ever paid more than you needed to for something, a meal, service, creative work, because you wanted to support whoever was providing it? The specific moment you decided to give more than was asked.
Are you running a business or a charity war? Well, not with my money.
Researchers at the Cambridge Center for Aging and Neuroscience published a study recently that is the most precise biological explanation yet for something almost everyone over the age of 30 has noticed. The years are getting shorter. The experiment, 577 people between the ages of 18 and 88 watched an 8-minute clip from the television show Alfred Hitchcock Presents, a favorite of mine. While they watched, fMRI scans tracked how their brains switched between distinct neural states, moments of focused processing, as the story unfolded. The finding was that older participants' brains switched between these activity states less often. In plain terms, older brains registered fewer distinct moments per unit of time. The researchers said, quote, "Longer and fewer neural states within the same period may contribute to older adults experiencing time as passing more quickly. The older you are, the fewer distinct chapters your brain creates from the same stretch of experience, and fewer chapters means the whole book feels shorter when you look back on it." You can think of it like a computer compressing files, your brain compressing memories. There's also a mathematical version of this. To a 5-year-old, a year is 20% of their entire life. To a 50-year-old, it's 2%. Each year is a smaller fraction of everything that's come before, which is part of why it ends up feeling smaller. But here's the part that's actually useful. The lead researcher said that new experiences, travel, and meaningful connections can make time feel richer and more expansive. She said, quote, "Learning new things, traveling, and engaging in novel activities can help make time seem more stretched in retrospect," end quote. The brain creates more distinct neural states, more chapters, when it encounters novelty, which means deliberately seeking out new experiences is the closest thing we actually have to slowing the clock. This connects to things we've talked about for the past couple months. The solitude influencer choosing a quieter life, the recess conversation about unstructured time, that tribe weighing whether or not to join the modern world, all of it at some level circles back to the same question. What makes a year feel full? What's the last period of time in your life that felt genuinely slow in a good way? Not boring, but rich, expansive, like time was actually stretching. And what was different about it?
Hail science!
Fortune published a piece this week that's been circulating widely, and the reason it's circulating is that the central quote is one of those things that lands like a stone in water. Jessica Hooton Wilson is a professor of great books and humanities at Pepperdine University. She said that students are arriving at college unable to read a single sentence. She told Fortune, quote, "It's not even an inability to critically think, it's an inability to read sentences," unquote. She described feeling like she was tap dancing and having to read things aloud because there's no way that anyone read it the night before. Even when you read it in class with them, there's so much they can't process about the words on the page. Gen Z would be upset by the accusation, but they can't read the article anyway. Nearly half of all Americans did not read a single book in 2025. Reading habits have dropped about 40% over the last decade. Americans aged 18 to 29 read an average of just 5.8 books in 2025. At Northwestern's Kellogg School of Management, Professor Brooke Vukovic says 40 to 50% of her students each term describe themselves as novice or reluctant readers. A theology professor at Abilene Christian University traced part of the problem to how reading has been taught. Years of standardized testing have trained students to scan for information rather than sit with complex texts. They've been formed in a kind of scanning approach to reading, useful for navigating news headlines, but nearly useless for engaging with a novel or a sustained argument of any kind. The consequence isn't just academic. One professor told Fortune that polarization, anxiety, and loneliness, three of the things we've been talking about since the beginning, are what happens when you don't have a society that reads together. Reading, she said, is a way of seeing ideas through other people's eyes, which is where empathy and community actually come from. What's the most important thing reading has ever done for you? Not the book you're supposed to say, the one that actually did something, the story or the paragraph or the page that changed how you saw something.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Episode 8 of the Titanic series on side quests is The Sinking itself. If you want to understand what those 2 hours and 40 minutes were actually like, what was happening on different decks, how the decisions were made, what the water looked like, this is the episode. There's a free condensed version for everybody and an extended cut for paid subscribers. Find SideQuest wherever you get your podcasts and at newsidequest.com.
Bravo! That'll be hard to top. I pity the next tale of interest.
A California woman cleaning her garage opened her freezer and found 20 sticks of live dynamite inside. Bomb disposal was called. The dynamite was safely removed. The question of where you'd keep your live dynamite is generally open. In a freezer is not the answer most safety experts would give, but I guess it does have a certain logic to it.
Boom, yeah. I understand boom.
Bada boom.
Big. Yeah, big bada boom.
A Virginia woman is suing Outback Steakhouse after slipping on mashed potatoes. The lawsuit claims the potatoes were left on the floor without adequate warning. We used to have a proper society where if you'd slip on something, you'd quietly slink away and hope no one noticed, and maybe come up with a better story later on. Now we make it everybody else's problem in hopes of getting a check.
Girlfriend's gonna get paid.
People are getting plastic surgery to make themselves look more AI-generated, according to a piece in ZME Science covering a growing aesthetic trend towards the smooth, symmetrical, slightly uncanny appearance of AI-generated faces. It seems less than ideal if the goal is to become indistinguishable from an AI image, and if AI images are becoming increasingly indistinguishable from photographs, then this represents a philosophical feedback loop that I'm not equipped to fully process before noon.
Terrified beyond the capacity for rational thought.
Scientists are tracking a mysterious cold blob in the North Atlantic that could disrupt weather patterns across Europe by weakening or shifting the jet stream. The phenomenon is linked to changes in ocean circulation. With everything else we're currently contending with, adding a mysterious cold blob seems like more than the situation required. The blob has no comment.
Yipes.
That's it for News Side Quests. 3 questions out there. A time you paid more than you needed to because you wanted to support someone. The last period that felt genuinely slow in a good way and what made it feel that way, and the most important thing reading has ever done for you. Email me at newsidequest@gmail.com or hit me up the Substack comments. See you tomorrow.